Well, I'm back. Um, Still need to get myself a slightly bigger a sheet so that I have a nice neutral background, and then I can either virtually or in reality affix images to my screen. In my endless quest to titillate, because my root content, which I think is so critical to helping move humanity forward, isn't enough. I mean, human beings are completely disinterested in facing reality, as far as I can see. Always have been, maybe always will be. Uh, Too bad it's not going to be our choice, because reality is facing us right now, and I'm not so sure it's copacetic with our rapacious excesses. There's some jargon for you. So I do have some. Oh, I always forget to do this. Please subscribe, even if you come here once. There's this weird tension here between the reality we once found ourselves in as animals, as primates in flat groups, um, versus these societies which have over extracted the stable abundances of the earth so severely that it's destabilized the very environmental grounds that allowed human beings to break out of their flat groups in the first place. As always, in my songlit videos, I try to keep philosophy to a minimum. But I'm realizing that all I can do is shout my message against the tide of stupidity and denial and self destruction that clearly half of humanity is just committed to keeping their head in the sand, pursuing their own interests at any cost to outcompete their neighbors. And yet we all, at some level, understand that this isn't going to sustain this civilization much longer. While we try to build out making more profit, while this endless pursuit for profit at all costs is just the sickness I'm talking about, this need for control. It doesn't end. What is enough? When you have a million, do you need 2 million? Apparently. And then you need 4 million. And then it's a fucking sickness. It's a disease in us. I explain it in this paper. I'll put the um, QR code up again. Not that anybody's reading it, or if they are, they're not giving me feedback. But I make a very clear argument to invert the perspective on the current problem we have, which what I think is a minor tendency, a minor problematic agency in distributed human psychology. And it was necessary because there's this tension between the need to constantly struggle, whether there's a struggle or not, and the struggle to be at peace with that struggle in both the striving and abiding, if that makes sense to you. And so I have to just keep repeating this message. We are mapping default behaviors that we're not going to evolve out of, that we all tacitly, collectively kind of allow and deny. And a lot of this centers around the abuse and marginalization of vulnerable children. And so this is where this song inspired this philosophy, because I'm doing a lesson on another lovely song. It's well composed, not complicated, quite diatonic, but it's a lovely composition. And of course, anybody who's a fan of Hall and Oates knows they wrote many exceptional pop songs, and this is just another one. But of course, Rich Girl has the theme of a whore. I'm just going to use the word. Look, men and women can be whores. I'm not talking about the person who sells their hoochie for money on the streets. I'm talking about whoring in general, which is to selling out your own values and your own capacity for growth because you want the comfort and convenience of someone else that you can be dependent on. And then you go around talking about how great you are while someone else is footing the bill. So is this misogynist? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, there's an imbalance in sexual power in politics, which gets inverted as the bad ape men take over and invert that relationship because of their fear of the vagina. Okay, like we've all had it analyzed, but I think it's more us and them thinking. This is not a man versus woman or woman versus man problem. It is a problem with a patriarchal excess that has allowed marginal psychologies to dominate beyond what they would have been able to dominate in little flat groups. Because if you had a shitheel in your group and you were in a group of 20 or 30 apes, there's no war machine, there's no banks, there isn't an internet. Like, there aren't all these other ways. The way that you influence the group was face to face or by working around. And of course, we do all of these things and say that we don't do them now. But if a shitheel that we needed to stop the other shitheel was getting out of hand and abusing children, or just deciding it wasn't going to ask, just take, well, the other apes would often band together, overpower, and destroy that shitheel. But the problem with agriculture, the problem with civilization, is I think it's done two things. It's as some better aspects, cooperative aspects, growth aspects, and the real wisdom, not the knowledge, but the wisdom of human agency through experience, had created all these powerful forms of infrastructure to improve the quality of life of people, to reduce the problems that originally were created by agriculture, like disease. All our diseases are created because of animal husbandry, and we still do it in a way that's reckless, I think, accruing more trauma and bad karma on us, and is also unsustainable for the waste more than anything. And so this is it. I'm tired of this us versus them thinking, binary thinking, divide and conquer thinking. Okay? We have the mind wrong. The whole universe is a mind, but the classical universe, what the rest of it is beyond the classical, I don't think we're ever going to be able to say. So we have the mind wrong, which means we have reality wrong. Reality, materialism is wrong. And it creates this nihilism because we've deemed, on the basis of science, which we don't have a cashed out ontology for, we don't know how science works because we don't know what numbers are. And the real problems begin when you want numbers to fall under the same ontology as materialism, because they sure don't seem to fit into that ontology. Your problematic, fictional, impossible objects and abstract objects, and numbers in particular. Like, don't be confused. Those numerals you leverage aren't the thing I'm talking about here. And again, a lot of academics in science and philosophy don't seem to understand this either. We don't know why science works. Okay, so this faith and reason thing this is a dysfunctional pair at war with each other, and I'm trying to, through my what I think is a better interpretation of science, reintegrate the perspectives of faith and reason, because I don't think we have real faith now. We have tribal faith, which aims to control, and I don't think we have wise science. We have dogmatic science that aims to totalize and control. So these things at war are the problem. And there's the analogy to men and women. There are imbalances, but if we deny the biological differences, we're going to deny the imbalances, and then we abstract all the conflicts, reduce it to this simplistic straw man called the patriarchy. It's human beings. Every goddamn fucking human being. You, me, all of us, if we are believing wrongly and incapable of understanding the value, and constantly being self-skeptical and constantly working to dispel our own inevitable ignorance, there is no final place here. Power does not deem you not ignorant. Staying still in your beliefs is what makes you ignorant, because there are no final beliefs. There is no final believing, just like there is no toe to describe this universe, because it's an always self-transcending thing. And this is clearly we're headed towards some cusp here. I think the universe is opening the door of potential for us that we refuse to pass through because we won't confront the thing that allowed us to transcend 10,000, 300,000 years ago, right? New information is coming in all the time about the evolution of species. Most people have a very simplistic view of how this works, and they're wrong about that too. And in fact, even the new knowledge is wrong because it will be supplemented. You see, this is the strength of science. It's not a, when science says it has an end game, it's shot itself in the foot. And the same with religion. Okay, if you are opting out of your responsibility to people because they're not in your tribe, because you think you're going to heaven, what if you're wrong? And that's the trap, and you go to hell. I mean, I don't think hell or heaven exists. I think I'll continue to hammer away, and I think that everything anybody's ever said about what we don't agree to exists in the most basic terms because we all can observe it together and come to some mutual endorsement as to the prima facie, like in your face essence of things. When people start going beyond, and I mean love, justice, I don't think anybody knows what they're talking about. I don't think we even know how to contextualize all of these crass and angelic drives that we can't seem to reconcile in sustainable, civil, and more equal ways. But I'm also going to keep hammering away at the root message. If you're a materialist, if you're an atheist or a non-atheist, like any of these, if you're in any absolute position chosen over a binary, you're in the wrong position. You need to be in both of those positions and find the way to integrate them. So we don't have reality right. I don't think we've even begun to define what it is we're talking about when we talk about the universe, reality, and the world. So this is another problem I'm tackling. We have the mind wrong. It's not in the brain. It's absurd. It's not a computer. Computer functionalism is wrong. We're always going to have to work over data in any pursuit, human, collective, individual pursuit, over not knowing which of the knowledge that motivates our agency is false. And that, again, is why the value of science is not that it produces absolute truths. It continues to refine truths in a way that we hoped would be less subject to corruption through the accumulation of power, but that's a separate issue. So the same thing that leads to all the problems with child trauma, rape, and abuse, which is ongoing and has been covered up. I've had experiences in my own life of this shit being covered up, not personally affecting me, but someone very close to me, and this causes me pain until this day. So all of this shit is all down to this crazy binary thinking that we're trapped in, and not seeing that the mind itself is a paradoxical thing. It has to integrate the paradoxes of endless unfolding, and it does that by having a left and a right brain, and those brains produce different models, and they are in a sense at war with each other. And as I put it before, and others have, the problem is humanity has kind of decided to just live in one of the brains and let that brain's view of things dominate, and that would lead to this Western patriarchal control and certain, because we have demonized emotion as truth. And of course the problem there is when people say I'm talking about my truth, that's bullshit. Subjectivity is useless for determining communal matters of concern, where different people are going to have perspectives. But your feelings about how you're treated and what you see and what happens to people, those are valid points of inference towards separate rational exploration, not reacting to the emotion without any reconciliation with other perspectives or the actual on the ground facts. But got the brain, got reality wrong. We're in complete denial over implicit behaviors that we had to deny. We managed them differently in flat groups as talking apes like the other animals. But once we broke out, and especially now with the internet, which is gutting and destroying any kind of face-to-face conflict because it's demonizing emotions. But these emotions are valid. What we lack are any real tools of communication. I don't think humans have ever really communicated. As I have aged, what I find is that 90% of my interactions with people seem to involve them trying to dominate me when they don't agree with something I might say. Like, it's just, this is the fucking cult of celebrity. It's sickening. We are all whores for the worst people. It's another way to put it. And we know that. And yet we're trapped in that loop because of other beliefs that don't provide us options for our own overcoming to support whatever it is the universe might be trying to self-transcend. And of course, if you believe anything about the apocalypse, you know it's not about the end, it's about new beginnings. We're the only fucking problem. And it ain't the other that's the problem. It's you, it's me, it's all of us in projecting our believing onto others to wage war on their believing, when in most cases both parties are clueless about beliefs, specifically when people are at war over science and faith. I find both of those groups of absolutists are equally perverse and confused about who the real enemy is. All right, so this is, so I'm just going to quickly go through the chords and how to play this song. It is a relatively simple song to play, very diatonic. It's in F major. I know all of the chords. I did check up one. Like, this is interesting. You wouldn't think of that as a chord, but it is. It's E minor. It's an E minor 11th chord. I've seen it. There it is, an octave up. I've seen it in other theoretical sources named differently, named more complexly than a D minor 11. This is also a D minor 11, a jazz chord. In the song, it's an F minor 11. Here I'm doing it as an E minor 11. So this is the weird chord he uses in this song, or they use. Anyways, so it's a very simple structure. So I'm having to cheat a little bit here. So in the first part, I'm going to try to talk through the lyrics and do the chord progressions, but I'm going to have to cheat because if I try to do both of these things, then I seem to forget what the actual progression is. Let me talk about the part. So the verse part, I'll do it in the verse part, the chorus part, and then I guess you could call it the outro part, where it just modifies the verse chorus progression a couple of times and does a little bit of you call it double time, or at least you're going from quarter to eighth notes or eighths to sixteenths. I'd have to see the sheet music, right? Don't over rely on the formalities of theory and under rely on the listening and feeling things out, which is something I have struggled with because of my math brain. But after 20 years of playing, I'm finally getting out of, so I could help you with that. So the first progression is F major, A minor 7th, D minor 7th, and then it goes to an F C chord, which is right here. It's not a hard chord to find and learn how to do. It's a slash chord because it's really the F note, melodic note on the D string, but with the added C. And then it goes to the G minor 7th, and what this one doesn't, they call this a B flat C, but I don't. So there's a variation. So let's just go through that once. You're a F girl, and you A minor 7th, so you D minor 7th, then you F slash C. B flat, rely on that. And now we go to this F slash A, because you are picking up the A. Oh man's money, you can rely. And then here's where, the way I learned it, I don't know if this is right or not, is with the G minor 11. And I try to, so as you're hammering on and off, sometimes the noises that the guitar makes add to the energy of the song, sometimes they distract. So you have to experiment with when you're damping. A lot of the good um, best practices would have you staying on chords, notes, and strings as long as possible between transitioning, because if you leave too much space between the notes, then the perceived energy and emotionality of the song starts to drop. But at the same time, filling the space with nothing but endless notes with no space between them is exhausting and chaotic. So, listening, theory, bring the two together. All right. And so then it repeats that. And then in this little chorus part, it's really nice. It's going to a G minor seventh, don't you, and then it goes to the A minor seventh, and this is a quick rotation on the fingers. I talk about rotating to chords. I mean your fingers are having to do tricky things like moving past each other in opposite directions, which your brain needs to wire up to do. And so it's don't you know. Oh, am I in the right place? I think so. No. And then you go to the A minor, G minor seventh again. Don't you know? And now we go to the F/C, that it's wrong. And then back to this little quick progression to take G minor 7, what is given, and now you go to the D minor, which is the third of the F major 7s, right? That's a good, you're basically doing a substitution there, but it creates a little a difference. So that love will grow, and then you just sort of go and you drone on the G minor 7, because it's too hard to live, because you'd rather get for the thrill of it all, and then you go back to the D minor, and then you do that G minor 11th again. All right, so it's like, I'll just do that one time through. Don't you know, don't you know that it's wrong to take what is given you, and that's where you go to the D minor 7. So far gone, back to the F major 7, on your own, you can get along, and you start droning a bit, and then to the D minor 7, you try to be strong, but you'll never be strong, and then the D minor 11, and then back to the verse. So the only other part of this song that's different, you know, you can put it together. I got to start talking about what I'm doing rhythmically. I do the videos and then realize I didn't talk about the strumming pattern at all. And this one's nice because it's one of those minimalist ones, and you can add little shuffles. It's very easy to take this basic, nice, like punctuated beat and just do your chords on the start of the beat, and it just gives that song the rhythm, and I kind of abstracted from the recorded version of the song to decide on how to do this basic strumming pattern. So the little tricky bit is in the outro. It'll do the verse a couple of times through with this alteration. A rich girl, and you've gone too far, you know it don't matter anyway. You can rely on the old man's money. You can rely on the old man's money. It's a bitch girl, and it's gone too far. You know it don't matter anyway. And here it comes. You can say money, money won't get you too far. You can say money, money won't get you too far. And so you just extend that swing between the D minor 7th and the C/F, but you double the strumming rate, which is a little tricky if you're not a quick and fast guitarist, and it just gives you that nice little change that marks the outro, and then it just replaces that. Now there are other little bits here. You know, again, I could spend 5 hours going over every transition, and the little outro that I kind of come up with, where I just stay on the E string, and I run my thumb over the first two strings and then pick up the third with my first string. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 triplets. And then I switch to an up-tempo doublet there by just doing the, so I go. And that goes into the verse part. So the intro of the song is kind of the verse. And then there's kind of that re-intro with the bass thing. And then there's some other parts where sometimes at the end of a verse or chorus you go right back down to the F, and sometimes you don't. And there's a little shuffle transition into the last set of choruses that, again, I'm not gonna, this video is gonna be too long. I'm having to prune this out. But anybody who actually wants to learn this song or hash out a different version of it, collaborate on doing a 2-guitar piece, find someone who can sing better than me. We can do this remotely. I have all the knowledge. I don't have a lot of money or power, but I do have wisdom, experience, and a desire to confront the self-destructive insanity of a species I find very hard to love anymore. I'll see you in a few more days with a new songlet, and I'd forgotten Rich Girl in between, and next up will be a trio of Pink Floyd songs, and I'm not quite sure how well I've mastered any of them. I'll see you then. Enjoy my performance. It might be the best I've done to date. You're a rich girl and you've gone too far, 'cause you know it don't matter in a way. You can rely on the old man's money. You can rely on the old man's money. It's a bitch, girl, but it's gone too far, 'cause you know it don't matter in a way. You can say money won't get you too far, get you too far. Don't you know that it's wrong to take what is given you so far gone on your own? You can get along and you try to be strong, but you'll never be strong. Well, you're a rich girl and it's gone too far, 'cause you know it don't matter anyway. You can rely on the old man's money. You can rely on the old man's money. It's a bitch, girl, and it's gone too far, 'cause you know it don't matter anyway. You can say money won't get you too far, get you too far. High and dry out of the rain. It's so easy to hurt others when you can't feel pain. Don't you know that a love can't grow? 'Cause there's too much to give when you'd rather live for the thrill of it all. Oh, you're a rich girl and gone too far, 'cause you know it don't matter anyway. You can rely on the old man's money. You can rely on the old man's money. It's a bitch, girl, gone too far, 'cause you know it don't matter anyway. You can say money won't get you too far. You can say money won't get you too far. You can say money won't get you too far, get you too far. You say you can rely on the old man's money. You can rely on the old man's money. It's a big